Well, guys, I had a choice. Me take a shower or come in. I thought I made the right choice.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, is your phone off?
No, I gotta leave it on again.
You have to leave it on?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Minimize it.
I don't know if anybody else is ready, but I am. Call this meeting to order. Pastor Rachel Danner, would you lead us in a prayer, please?
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for the gifts that you give to each and every one of us to do your work, to care with and for one another, to seek safety and hope in this world. Lord, especially at this time as we seek to find ways to care for the least of these, to try to bring hope and grace into the lives of our children around the world. And especially here in Atchison, we seek your guidance. We ask for your vision. We pray that you would help us to follow you, to do what we can and to utilize our gifts to care for your children. Lord, at all these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have several proclamations this evening. Our first one, I'll read to you. Whereas in federal fiscal year 2022, nearly 3.1 million children received either an investigation response or alternative response. And whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas our children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future of Atchison. And whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have long-lasting consequences for victims of abuse. And whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. And whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. And whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now, therefore, I, Larry Wilcox, Vice Mayor of the City of Atchison, do hereby proclaim the April 2024 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in Atchison, Kansas, and urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life of all children and families. Dated this first day of April 2024. Front or back?
Yes. Very briefly, the pinwheel is boundaries prevention. You have pinwheel in 2023.
Good.
Thank you all so much.
We have a second proclamation. Whereas Atchison Child Care and other local organizations in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children is celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 8th to 12th, 2024. And whereas Atchison Child Care Association is working to improve early learning opportunities, including early literacy programs that can provide a foundation of learning for children in Atchison, Kansas. And whereas teachers and others who are affected in the lives of the young children in Atchison, Kansas deserve thanks and recognition, and whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures. Now, therefore, I, Larry Wilcox, Vice Mayor of the City of Atchison, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 8th to April 12th, 2024 as the Week of the Young Children in Atchison, Kansas, and encourage all citizens to work to make a promising investment in early childhood in Atchison, Kansas. Dated this first day of April 2024. One of my favorite people.
Very much. Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, I need a break. Okay, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Wilcox,
Present.
Commissioner Greenlee,
Present.
Commissioner Murphy,
Present?
Commissioner Slattery,
Present.
Mayor Young. Thank you.
Okay, we have the public forum. Persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items that are not on the agenda may do so at this time when called upon by the vice mayor. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should give their name and address when addressing the commission. Any presentation is for information purposes only. Anyone? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the consent agenda presented by Amy Finch, city manager.
Our consent agenda this afternoon includes approval of the minutes of the March 18th, 2024 City Commission meeting, approval of mobile food unit vendor license for Cookin' For You contingent upon receiving a valid food establishment license issued by the Kansas Department of Agriculture, approval of the city manager employment agreement extension, authorization for the mayor to sign the C-CLIP agreement number 24-24 for Phase 2 of US 59 resurfacing, and approval of the purchase of a police department special use vehicle from Airport Dodge in Platte City, Missouri, in the amount of $39,573 as budgeted in the equipment replacement plan in the amount of $39,837.
Any questions, comments?
What's a special use vehicle?
It is one, oh, I'm sorry, Chief, go ahead.
In this case, it's a detective. As we, man,
Yeah,
No, that's okay, you don't have to.
so as we talked at an earlier meeting, we buy 2 patrol vehicles each year that are what you would expect, black and white with a light bar on top. Special use vehicles, we try to budget 1 per year. It would include the chief, the detectives, canine, animal control, motorcycles. So we alter those only 1 every 8 years, or about that, because of the number of them that we have, but we only do 1 per year. This particular purchase request is to replace a 2014 vehicle, which I'm not sure isn't going to get handed down to somebody that may still get a little bit of use out of it.
And what was this in being used for? I'm sorry.
Detectives.
Okay. I'll move we adopt this consent.
Sorry.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
New business. Item 1, adopt resolution 3385, accepting conveyance of real estate known as 900 Kearney, Atchison, Kansas. Presented by Clinton McAtee, Public Works and Utilities Director. Oh, visual aids. Corner.
All right, so BNC Dame Enterprises LLC proposed the conveyance of 900 Kearney Street to the city at no cost to the city. due to the presence of a large storm culvert cutting through that property, in addition to modern setback requirements, I'll say, the 12,000 square foot lot does not have much potential for development. The lot was purchased in late 2014, and it came with a two-story brick structure located very close to that southwest corner of 9th and Kearney that you see in the photo there. The structure was demolished in 2015 with a cost share agreement with the city. The property owner has been maintaining that lot, and if accepted, the lot would be included in either in the community development's vacant lot mowing contract, or the parks crew would pick it up when they do Reasoner Park, which is on that same block. There's arguably some benefit to controlling that property due to the presence of our infrastructure, in addition to controlling the usage and maintenance of that lot going forward. And so with that, I would just ask that you guys consider adopting ordinance number 3385, accepting the conveyance of 900 Kearney Street.
Is that adjacent to Reasoner Park,
It is,
or is there a property between?
it's across Kearney Street and down to the east from Reasoner. So it's not attached to Reasoner.
That's what I mean, it's not.
But the culvert that we talk about, that's where the creek kind of comes in from one side of Reasoner and then goes into the box on the south side.
Right.
That box is the one cutting through that lot. It really restricts what you can do with that lot. So that's why the developer, presumably that was the purpose of the purchase 10 years ago. And because of setbacks and the presence of that culvert, hasn't found that there's much potential to build on it. So.
I move we accept that. I'll second it.
We have a roll call vote?
Oh, that's
Commissioner Slattery,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilcox.
Yes.
Commissioner Greenlee,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 2, 920 North 4th Street rezone request, presented by Phil Burke, zoning officer.
Back for the second round since it was tabled from the first round, so requested an R2 zoning change. It was denied unanimously by the Planning Commission, so it's brought to your table to approve that denial of changing from R1 to R2. But if you got any questions, I'd sure be happy to answer them.
Commissioners, I did send you a memo from the city attorney on spot zoning, if you'll remember that at the request from your last meeting pertaining to this item.
It's my understanding there's some people around there have their zone now, too. Have they contacted the city yet?
No?
Maybe that we table this again, if those guys give them a chance to come in if they really want to or not.
Do you have any knowledge of whom that is?
Yeah, it's adjoining property owners to the north and to the east, both. I think they want to do something close to the college. Put a multi.
They'd have to start elsewhere, though. They wouldn't come here, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other requests have to go to the planning commission? correct?
Yes.
that would have to start with the Planning
Yeah.
Commission. Yep.
And let's see if they do it. They say they're going to. They haven't done it yet, he says. I'd like to give them another meeting and then go with whatever we got then.
We'll have to be,
I'd move.
well, I know, but I'm not trying to jump in where I don't belong, but we only have one thing in front of us, that's to approve or disapprove this. We can't make, I don't think we have capacity to, we either decline it or not, am I right, Bob?
No, we can table.
Can we move to table?
Sure.
Even though we've tabled it once before? Okay.
I'd just like to give them a chance to do it if they want to before we have to rule on it.
Commissioner, did they realize we were meeting today?
I don't know that. I think there was a delay in people finding out
Phil?
about it. I don't see where it's gonna hold any big thing up if we do wait another week, you know. I think they wanted to check and make sure that's what they really wanted to do, maybe see what the legal, I don't know what all was involved, but there were some people that acted like they were going to. That's why I asked Phil if they had actually had to. Because I told him I didn't know how you had to do it. I said, talk to Phil, he'll know.
To date, nothing.
Okay.
Given the information sent to us by the city attorney, I've sort of vacillated and agonized a little bit over this since our last meeting. I feel it would be difficult to overturn a unanimous planning commission vote. And the language of what was sent to us indicates that we should have very, very concrete and strong reasons to do that.
But if they were to apply, joining property were to apply, it would void the argument of spot zoning.
Well, it would complicate the issues that the other people have brought forward to us concerning parking and traffic and density in that area. So I'm okay. I'm just one vote. But the other thing is that if the planning commission recommends disapproval of the zoning change, then it takes a 2/3 vote of the governing body to approve that change. So it's not a majority vote, it's a 2/3 vote. And if all 5 of us are here, that means 4 of the 5. It'll take 4. Okay. So, and then the language then is, if the governing body wants to override the planning commission, it would be most prudent for the governing body to consider and discuss the relevant factors cited prior to making any changes. So everything I read strongly discouraged making any changes unless there's some obvious reason that the planning commission was in error.
Well, I'm just offering a motion to table it for another meeting.
And I said I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with
that's
that.
all.
I don't know. I'm not.
But I mean, we're gonna have to make a decision here at some point. I
Yeah.
sure agree with you, for sure. But I just thought that these other people wanting to possibly get theirs rezoned, my understanding wouldn't be a complete planning commission.
I think it would.
That's their,
There'd have to be some very strong rationale for it to go from a single unit to multiple units on that corner, having been rezoned, even though I'm not sure that those aren't currently habitated by more than one family. That came in last.
The matter of fact is the zoning is jumbled. I mean, we've got houses right next door that are non-conforming, and this spot zoning, and I'm not suggesting that we zone, would be non-conforming. There's a whole bunch of, in that whole area of our community, there's a whole bunch of non-conforming. And my question has always been, why was this zone, R1 to begin with, not R2? And now we're just using the fact that it is R1 and not R2, that we can't do it. And I'm not making a suggestion either way. It's just that whole zoning issue needs to be addressed and made a little clearer. And because in all my life, I've never seen any structure there. There is a garage just south of that address. It's a garage with no attached home or anything. So I'm inclined to decline it and reapproach it from a entire another perspective of let's clean up our zoning a little bit where we can.
Well, I don't know, but I think that's probably the planning commission's job.
It is.
More than it is this.
And that's my suggestion. I didn't suggest we do it.
Okay, all right. Because I hate for us to get in a confrontational situation with the planning commission.
right.
Over each item. And that sort of, we overturned this. They're like, well, what are we doing? Why are we doing anything? Just
Well,
let
that's
them
why I
handle
thought we
it.
just needed to table this thing for another meeting, just one more meeting, give everybody a chance if they seriously want to do it, let them jump
Do we have a
into it.
second on that?
I'll second the motion first so we can open it up for discussion, but I'll second the motion.
To just table it for another meeting, that's all we're talking about.
Yeah, but I do think in some point, we need to address Am I right in that respect that our zoning situation in those areas are kind of chopped up as it is? I mean, would I be,
Does the zoning map need some further?
that's what I guess
Work.
I'm saying, yeah.
Sure.
And I'm not suggesting we do it. I'm suggesting we have the planning commission address that.
That's why I say I've been bouncing back and forth on this for 2 weeks, because I have a lot of confidence in the particular builder, and I think that that carries a lot of weight,
Yeah.
whereas some other builder, I might not be as confident, so. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay.
I do have a question. If we have a tie vote on this, does that mean it fails? Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
The motion fails.
A motion,
Just a table, it's all we're
just to take,
talking
that's what I
about,
meant.
for just another 2 weeks.
Okay, and if, I'm just making sure I'm on the right page here. If we don't table it, what vote, or will we
If
be
we don't
taking?
table, I assume that we'd have to vote on this,
Then we would
request.
to vote yes or no?
And it would take all four of you voting affirmatively to overturn the planning commission.
Okay,
If you were voting on the reason.
yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear on it.
Any other questions?
I don't.
All right, we have a motion to table this until the next meeting. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, 4-0.
Thank you.
Hope you guys don't have dates on Monday night.
This is our day?
All right, item 3, Rural Water Line Airport Reimbursement Agreement, presented by Clinton McEnany.
All right, just another procedural step in this multi-layered project, but similar to the gas pipeline reimbursement agreement that we talked about. I don't know, it's been 2 or 3 meetings ago probably. We are close to finalizing a reimbursement agreement with the Rural Water District number 5. The overall cost associated with that agreement is anticipated to be approximately $540,000 for the relocation of 2 water lines, in addition to so that's the project for relocating the water lines. There'll be additional things like legal fees for them, survey fees, and miscellaneous contractor fees as we need their contractor to go out and locate lines for various things time to time. This differs from the gas pipeline reimbursement agreement in that the water district will submit reimbursement requests to the city as they are invoiced for the various materials and services. Whereas if you remember, the gas pipeline is wanting that full payment up front and then settle after the fact. The water district will be reimbursed by the city at 100%, and the city will be reimbursed by FAA grants at 90%. The agreement needs to be executed as soon as possible so we can green light the water district ordering the materials for this so they can get the materials delivered and get out of the way of the dynamic compaction process for that old landfill area. If we go much longer, if we get into May and we're still haven't relocated water lines, it's going to impact the progress of the overall project. So sooner the better on getting that material ordered. The final version of the agreement will be reviewed by staff and city attorney prior to the execution of the agreement, and we'll have that included in a future commission agenda. And with that, I just request authorization for staff to execute a reimbursement agreement with Rural Water District number 5 for expenses associated with relocating 2 water lines at Amelia Earhart Airport.
Did we know about these when we got into the airport, or is this something we just discovered, or?
I'm trying to think of when I'd say this got to be a hot topic about a year ago in the process. I mean, we knew about water lines and gas lines for a long time, but as far as the specifics of what steps you got to take, that was probably something that really got going about a year and a half ago. would argue our consultant, would have known that right off the
Clinton,
get-go. But-
both of these, though, are included in our overall
Yeah, this
project
isn't
budget.
isn't anything new or additional. It's just it's taken us this long to get to this point, and yeah, that's where we're at.
They've been moving forward with the other work in the pipeline.
The gas pipeline, so we got that congressionally directed spending request granted, which was a $3 million addition to the project, specifically for utilities modifications. And so that allowed us to switch from Plan A, which was to leave the gas line in place under the runway, which has its disadvantages, but it was the only feasible thing to do at that time. Now we're looking at Plan B, which is to reroute that gas pipeline. So we're working through the timeline, how that affects the project. It slowed down the reimbursement agreement process with them because now we're switching gears and looking. I think the news of that earmark came days after probably that we authorized to move forward with the reimbursement agreement on Plan A, I'll call it. So I'm crossing my fingers that we can make Plan B happen because that's going to be a better solution long-term for everybody involved, I think, so.
Any questions for Clinton? We have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Those in favor signify. Aye.
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 Nays? 4-0, please. Thank you. All right, communications presented by Amy Finch, City Manager.
All right, I've got a couple things for you, and then I'm going to invite Clinton up to talk to us a little bit about the sludge removal contract. In your packets, you've got the Airport Advisory Board minutes from November 13th of 2023. You also have a cover letter and a copy of a check from our attorneys. The check is for $19,266, and that represents the attorney's fees that the city was awarded in the City of Atchison v. Jack Laurie, Sheriff of Atchison County lawsuit. So just wanted to let you know that we've received that and it has been deposited. If there are no questions on those items, I'll ask Clinton to come up and talk to us about sludge removal.
All right, so I think it was at the last meeting, the commission approved our 2024 sludge hauling contract. There was some question about, because we're doing twice as much in the last few years that we did when we originally entered into the agreement with the company, maybe there were some cost savings due to economy of scale, I'll call it. So I went back just from maybe even my own education on this, since this kind of got started before I was involved with the utility side of things. But from what I found back in 2016, and I'll just say the 20 teens, it seemed like the bids were going back and forth year to year between two companies, Midwest Injections, who has it today, and Nutraject. And in 2016 was the last time that Nutraject had the annual contract, and it was about $45,000 rounded up. It was 44 something, I think. The next year, and I remember this from a commission meeting, the commission asked, hey, so we stopped talking about sludge hauling every year. Why don't you guys do a multi-year contract? Which is kind of interesting because we get the authorization every year anyway, I think. But so in 2017 was the first year of a multi-year contract. Midwest Injection got that contract. It was $41,900 a year to do half the holding tank. In 2021, the staff reached out to Midwest Injection, said, hey, if you keep your pricing the same, we'll extend you another 5 years. They agreed to it, and so we carried on with the $41,900, and then I'm not sure exactly which year, due to the digester system being decommissioned, it created the additional sludge, so we were doing twice as much. And so the premise of last discussion was, can they cut us a deal on that second half, because they're only coming once a year, and getting twice the product. We reached out to Midwest Injection, asked them about that, and they said they'd be happy to renegotiate the contract, but we should expect a 30% price increase because they've been keeping the same price since 2017. And so I did a little bit of, internet research on inflation and things, and that's probably right on the money of what, if it had went up with CPI every year or whatever, inflation, that's probably about right, that 30% by the year 2025. So my recommendation is to continue going with that contract. Next year is its last year, go at that price, and then when we're budgeting in 25 for FY26, make sure we include that expected increase.
Clinton, you say that expected increase is going to be 30%?
It might even be a little bit more by the time you get to 2026. So I don't know if you tack on another 3% or something like that. We can look at that a little closer when it gets to be that budget season.
Clinton, are there a limited number of vendors that would perform this service?
I don't know that I couldn't tell you that right now, but just judging from the bids that look like we got in the past, I'm guessing
Just a
there's not
couple.
an unlimited supply of them
Okay.
around.
I know some other people that can do that. I'll do that. I'll give you information.
Do you anticipate doing a multi-year next time?
I mean, it worked for us. It kept it at the same price for
Well, actually, it went down from 45 to 41.9.
true. From 2016, it went down. Yeah.
So, I mean, the multi-year thing might save you a portion of that 30%, and I wouldn't just concede to 30%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
The only downside of that is if there is a 30%, once we'll put it out to bid, if it comes back 30% higher, yes, we did anticipate it and we did budget for it, but that does make, it's a little tricky sometimes to just add. But, we're talking about 15,000 or something like that, so it's not a huge impact to the budget when the time comes.
All right, as far as the current contract, any other questions, comments? So do we need a motion on this, or we're just good to go?
That was just informational, yeah.
Thank you. Incident at Bailey Yard Airport, March 20.
Yes, so two passengers had chartered a flight out of Fort Scott, I believe is where they were coming from, to do a story on the museum. The plane, one of its landing gear broke as they were landing, kind of skidded to a halt about halfway down the runway. Everybody, as far as I know, was uninjured. We allowed them to store that plane in one of our empty hangars. Their mechanics came up, fixed it, and it's gone. But they've already flown it out. So FAA, I think the investigation is already, they've already come out and looked, and I don't know that we'll hear the exact determination. I've heard that it takes over a year for that report to become public, but I do believe they have classified it as an incident, and so it was. I bet it was very scary for the passengers, but I think everybody came out okay with that, and they got their plane back flying in the air before the runway got shut down. So, and which it is shut down for the project now. So,
No damage to the airport or the runway?
some superficial scuff marks on the runway.
No gouges?
There might be a slight gouge at the very south end. However, the runway is no more a runway. It'll be some pavement left over for maybe some hangar, if we develop hangars in that area. But as far as being used as a runway ever again, it does not look, because it's closed for good now.
Okay.
We'll have a new runway by the time the airport's open again.
Any other questions? All right, presentation, Fire Chief Pat Weiser.
He heard some pretty outlandish rumors on fire on Kansas Avenue last Saturday morning, week ago Saturday morning. After we investigated, we found that there wasn't anything ominous. The house had recently changed hands. The previous owner was still moving stuff out, keeping a couple of dogs there, using a wood stove, but not home at the time the fire started. And so, yeah, nothing criminal. Pretty much wrapped up the investigation on it, found that it started around the wood stove, so.
Homes to either side, or were there insurance?
Yes, the one home closest to it, ironically, to the east, had no damage that we could find, maybe some paint, but we haven't heard from that homeowner. It's a rental home. The one to the west had some extensive damage. Their insurance company, I believe, is already working with them. It's mostly cosmetic, it's siding, it's nothing structural. It's just some damage to the siding.
Is there a demolition in its future?
Yeah, they're working
and
for.
do we know, or is it something we're going to be responsible for?
I don't believe so. Curtis has been working with the new owner, and I think they're working on a plan to get it cleaned up as soon as possible. So, yeah, that was been in the talks since day one, since that Saturday. So I can update you when I talk to Curtis and find out where we're at with that.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, we're to that point already. Any governing body comments, Bill?
I just have one, and I had some.
You always just have one, but you have 3 or 4 when it's all done.
Don't let him get by.
Don't get me started. I won't be home before 7. I had someone ask me this today in with relationships to our ARPA funds. We still have ARPA funds available.
We do.
The
workshop we just had is what covered that.
Oh, okay. Because Habitat for Humanity had the new director just asked me about it, what I knew about it, and I said, I was rather sure there were funds available. How the process from getting those funds from here to here for the benefit of.
So the housing pool of money is probably what she was inquiring about, and that's what we discussed last time, that CDBG application that we discussed, we felt like might be a more effective way of getting that money out the door. And I think that'll be coming up in a future discussion, maybe at next meeting. Does that sound right?
Okay.
On the 15th?
That's fine.
Give us one more.
I got him, but we don't want to, I want to go home.
Commissioner Slattery.
I haven't talked to me about this yet, but is there any interest? There's some people, I told you I'd always talk to you, about paying some areas around instead of mowing them all the time. Is there any interest in that? There's some people who approached me about it again, like around the watershed dams and stuff.
I'm gonna look over here to our
What do you
Public
think,
Works
Clint? Is that something we could, I mean, it looks to me like we could save a lot of mowing time. Not have to worry about it. And
So
I think it'd be a
did you mean like
workable deal.
contracted out for someone else? Is that what, did you mean like contracted out for someone else?
No, just let somebody mow it for hay instead of us mowing it all. See, if you cut the grass off, let it grow up, and hay it down, then the grass will only grow back about that tall and you wouldn't have to mow it all summer. A lot of those big areas that we're mowing, I just think it's a good use for them. But do it. Like at the airport where they're not gonna pull that big area out there now. You can just do it after mow. Let them mow hay on it.
Can't recall anyone coming to us failing.
I know
that KDOT.
The watershed dams is more what I was thinking. You know, that's something we could look at a little bit, or
We could look at it.
Yeah.
The only thing I would be concerned about some of the watershed locations are adjacent, so people complaining about our nuisance abatement program, we're allowing tall grass and weeds.
We could mow the outside round around it or something. I think there's some big areas that would save us a lot of wear and tear on mowers and time and everything else.
They would probably
where
have
would-
to,
Excuse me. Where would we stand liability-wise? You know, and if someone is gonna do that, getting their equipment there, mowing it, baling it, and then having not leaving their equipment there, or having trucks and stuff parked on the side of the road, whatever the case may be, where do we stand liability-wise as far as their equipment, somebody getting injured,
if
doing
you,
that?
if you'll remember, I think back last year when we were talking about insurance and the carrier that we used for so long went out of the municipality market, no one at this point has been willing to insure our dams, and that might be something we would need to figure out as well.
What'd you say?
When our carrier that we used for several years went out of the market, the new bids did not include coverage for our dams. So that would be something we'd need to sort out.
Liability coverage?
No. And then I think we would need to we'd want to make sure anyone doing work on our property would have insurance and.
Wouldn't we have a problem letting the public use those dams for liability? That would be the same issue if you got, like when we had.
I think it was for probably like insuring if they failed or had to do with the inspections.
Look at
The insurance, yeah.
I mean, we had, our concerts out there, and we worry about, unless there was a certain liability policy for that event, I'm just saying, it seemed like liability would be universal.
I remember wasn't dealing enough the insurance side. I mean, a top. Seemed like, because it seems kind of silly because airport, for example, added 113 acres. Actually more than 113 acres. Some of it will be. Put anything in at least.
Do we currently use some contracted mowing for the city?
We contract mowing for the right of ways.
For what?
For public works, we contract right like highway. There's other community development.
Well, this would just be a deal where they just come in and hay it, Void for hay. They've got liability insurance. The people that approached me about it have definitely got they're responsible
I
people.
was planning to look at something like that.
Yeah. I just think the grass does better if it's treated that way than it is to be continuously mowed all summer. Brome grass, if you're gonna take care of your brome grass, mow it once and let it grow up and grow about that tall, look nice, all even. I don't know, I just think it's a reasonable thing to do to me. I've got some people interested in doing it. Whatever
What would they do? Send a letter to the city requesting the particular areas?
I don't even know if we want to do it first.
If we were gonna lease it out, I imagine we'd probably have to put it out for bid.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you'd hope it would, yeah. But it'd only be there for 30 days, so you could send yourself a nuisance notice, and it'd be mowed by then. But, yeah, if we need to do that, we need to do that to make it right, I agree with that. It just looks to me like a good way to save some money.
Is zoning, if it was zoned agriculture, does it have the same?
You have to have so many acres for it to be called agriculture.
Well, I know, we have 113.
No,
And
but
I'm just saying, would that fall under the same codes as? I don't know. I
think it's like 10 or 12 acres, and it's exempt from the city ordinance. There's an amount like that.
It'd be similar,
Yeah, I don't either
the
exactly.
former Walt.
Right. Well, I think it'd be reasonable to mow around the outside of it, you know, and have the inside, if they're the bigger areas, but I mean, they wouldn't want to be messing around with 10 feet strips either, you know.
Fishermen do complain sometimes. Sometimes just because of rainy season or.
We could tell them we're saving money. Amazing.
Well, you could, your
concept.
people could mow a path to,
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
Getting
Good idea.
complicated.
I just think it's something we need to look at, maybe not, I just think we could do it this year.
Yeah, like I said, just my initial. Dams, you know, see any of the ones. Pretty adjacent.
Well, that
Even
one
if there
out-
was a. Like I'm already like. Rodents and this and that, snakes coming into my yard. There would be some criticism.
Tell them we're saving money. Amazing new concept.
Mr. Greenlee,
I have nothing.
I'm just ready for spring.
I am too.
Okay.
Okay,
See
we
the Easter
need
bunny?
to adjourn to land bank,
Yes.
and we do that here.
Do we need a motion, right?
I make a motion, we adjourn to the land bank.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Okay.
Getting shut down.